My name is Jack, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people spend decades working for money instead of building systems that make money work for them. And if you're someone who feels exhausted from saving every month, watching inflation eat your cash, and realizing that no matter how hard you work, your bank account barely moves, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, because this might completely change how you think about money. Look, most people believe the path to wealth is simple. Work hard, save money, repeat for 30 years. That sounds responsible, safe, logical. But here's the thing nobody wants to admit. Saving money alone will not make you wealthy anymore. In fact, for a lot of people, aggressive saving without investing actually makes them poor over time. Let me explain why.
Imagine two people. Person A saves $500 every month in a regular savings account, earning maybe 1% interest. Person B invests the same $500 into assets that generate cash flow and compound at an average annual return of 10%. After 10 years, person A has around $63,000. Sounds decent until you adjust for inflation. If inflation averages 3% annually, the purchasing power of that money drops dramatically. That $63,000 might feel more like $45,000 in today's money. Now, person B. 10% annual returns over 10 years with consistent investing turns into more than $100,000. Same income, same monthly contribution, completely different result. This is where it gets really interesting. Most people think saving money is the goal. Wealthy people understand saving money is only the beginning. Cash is not the destination. Cash is fuel. The real goal is converting money into productive assets. And here's what most people don't realize. Every dollar sitting still is slowly dying. Inflation is a silent tax. If inflation runs at 4% and your bank gives you 1% interest, you're losing 3% purchasing power every year without seeing it. Your money looks stable on the screen, but its real value shrinks.
That's why people feel stuck today, even when they save more than previous generations. The rules changed. Back in the 1980s, savings accounts sometimes paid 8 or even 10% interest. Keeping money in the bank actually worked. Today, most banks give almost nothing, while asset prices explode upward. Housing prices rise, stocks rise, healthcare rises, education rises, food rises. Meanwhile, your savings account sits there, barely moving. So people think they're being financially responsible, while they're actually falling behind. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Jack, so should I stop saving completely? No, that's not the point. Savings create stability. Assets create freedom. You need both. But most people stop at savings because psychologically it feels safe. Investing feels uncertain, risky, emotional. Humans are wired to avoid loss more than pursue gain. Behavioral economists call this loss aversion. Studies show people feel the pain of losing money almost twice as strongly as the pleasure of gaining money. That's why someone will keep $50,000 in cash, losing value for years, instead of investing it into productive assets. Safety feels good emotionally, even when it's dangerous financially. Look at this example. Let's say you save $100,000 and leave it in cash for 20 years with average inflation at 3%. After 20 years, that $100,000 has the purchasing power of about $55,000 today. You didn't lose money, technically.
But you lost purchasing power. And purchasing power is what actually matters. Meanwhile, if that same $100,000 was invested at an average annual return of 10%, after 20 years, it becomes more than $670,000. That difference changes lives. This is why wealthy people obsess over assets. Assets are things that either grow in value or generate income while requiring limited active labor from you. Stocks, businesses, real estate, royalties, digital products, cash-flowing investments. The average person works for money. The wealthy buy or build systems that produce money. And this is the psychological shift most people never make.
They stay trapped in labor mode forever. Hours equal income. No work means no money. That system has a ceiling. You only have 24 hours in a day. Even high-income workers get trapped here. A doctor making $300,000 but spending everything still depends entirely on labor income. If that income stops, the lifestyle collapses. Meanwhile, someone making $80,000 with strong investments and cash-flowing assets may quietly become wealthier over time. Income matters, but asset ownership matters more.
Here's another thing nobody talks about. Saving money without a purpose often backfires psychologically. People binge save, then binge spend. Why? Because the brain needs reward. If saving feels like constant deprivation with no visible progress, eventually people snap emotionally and overspend. That's why asset building changes behavior. When people see investments growing, dividends arriving, businesses generating revenue, motivation increases because the money feels productive instead of trapped. Now let's talk about the biggest lie people believe. I'll invest later when I have more money. Wrong. Time matters more than amount. A person investing $200 monthly starting at age 25 often ends up with significantly more wealth than someone investing $1,000 monthly starting at 40, because compounding needs time. Einstein supposedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether he said it or not, the math is real. Let me show you. $200 monthly invested at 10% annual return from age 25 to 65 becomes over $1 million. Start at 40 instead, and the result drops massively, despite investing more aggressively later. Time multiplies money. Delay destroys potential. This is where it gets really interesting. Most people think investing is about getting rich fast. Real investing is actually boring. Consistent investing, long time horizons, controlled emotions, patience. The people constantly chasing hot trends often lose. Meanwhile, disciplined investors quietly compound wealth for decades. Look at the stock market historically. The S&P 500 has averaged roughly 10% annual returns long-term, despite crashes, recessions, wars, inflation, political chaos. Yet average investors dramatically underperform the market because they panic. They buy high when excitement peaks. They sell low during fear. Psychology destroys returns more than bad investments. Now, you might be thinking, but what if I lose money? Look, risk exists everywhere. Keeping all your money in cash during high inflation is also risk. Depending entirely on one paycheck is risk. Having no investments at retirement age is massive risk. The goal is not avoiding all risk. The goal is intelligent risk management. Diversification matters. Emergency funds matter. Long-term thinking matters. Here's a practical framework. First, build emergency savings, 3 to 6 months of expenses. This prevents small emergencies from destroying your finances. Second, eliminate high-interest debt. If your credit card charges 25% interest, paying that off is mathematically better than most investments. Third, consistently buy productive assets. Index funds, retirement accounts.
Businesses, skills that increase income, cash flow investments. Fourth, automate investing. Automation removes emotion. If money automatically invests every month, you're less likely to sabotage yourself psychologically. And here's something extremely important. Your environment shapes financial behavior. If everyone around you spends aggressively, you'll feel pressure to consume. Luxury cars, expensive apartments, status purchases. Most people buy things to signal success before achieving actual financial security. That's why high earners often stay broke. Lifestyle inflation destroys wealth creation. Someone gets a raise and immediately upgrades everything. Better car, more expensive vacations, larger apartment, higher subscriptions, more dining out. Income rises, but wealth stays flat. Wealth is what you keep and grow. not what you spend. Here's what wealthy people understand that average consumers don't. Every purchase has an opportunity cost. Spend $50,000 on a luxury car.
Or invest $50,000 at 10% annual returns for 30 years and potentially turn it into almost $900,000. Most purchases are future wealth being sacrificed for temporary emotion. Now, that doesn't mean never enjoy life. That's another misunderstanding. The goal is intentional spending, not emotional spending. Spend aggressively on things you truly value. Cut ruthlessly on things that don't matter, and invest the difference. This is also why passive income matters psychologically. When money arrives independent of active labor, stress changes. You stop feeling trapped. You stop panicking about every expense. You gain flexibility. Let's break down what real passive income actually looks like, because social media lies constantly about this. Real passive income usually requires one of three things: capital, time up front, or specialized knowledge. Rental properties require capital. Dividend portfolios require capital. Digital products require time up front. Businesses require systems. Nothing is magically free, but once built correctly, these systems can produce income repeatedly. Think of it like planting trees. Most people eat all the seeds. Wealthy people plant seeds that later produce fruit continuously. Now, here's where most people fail.
They want immediate results, but assets often grow slowly at first. The first $1,000 of investment income feels tiny. Then $5,000, then $10,000. Then suddenly, compounding accelerates. The beginning feels invisible. That's why patience becomes a competitive advantage. Most people quit before compounding becomes powerful. Let's talk about income versus wealth, because this confuses people constantly. A person earning $150,000 annually but spending $140,000 is financially fragile. A person earning $70,000 but investing $20,000 annually may become financially independent faster. Income creates opportunity. Asset accumulation creates security. And here's something uncomfortable. A lot of jobs are becoming less stable than people think. Automation, AI, layoffs, economic shifts. Entire industries change rapidly. Depending entirely on one income source today is dangerous. That's why assets matter even more now. Assets diversify survival. Imagine losing your job while having dividend income, investment accounts, rental income, or online business revenue. Stress changes completely. You gain negotiating power. Freedom increases. Now, let's address another psychological problem. People often confuse consumption with progress. Buying expensive things creates the illusion of advancement. But true financial progress often looks boring externally. Investments, cash reserves, business ownership, debt reduction. Most wealthy people don't look wealthy initially. Many high spenders only look wealthy temporarily. There's a difference. Here's a shocking statistic. According to several studies, a significant percentage of luxury cars are financed.
Meaning many people driving expensive vehicles don't actually own wealth. They own payments. The appearance of wealth often hides financial fragility. This is why financial literacy matters so much. Schools teach people how to work for money, rarely how to make money work for them. And that's a massive difference. Let's build a simple example. Imagine Jack earns $5,000 monthly. Instead of spending everything, he invests $1,000 monthly into diversified index funds averaging 10% annual return. After 10 years, he potentially reaches over $200,000. After 20 years, over $700,000. After 30 years, over $2 million. That's not fantasy. That's mathematics plus consistency. And remember, that's without increasing contributions significantly over time. Now imagine income also grows. The numbers become even larger. This is why early financial habits matter more than flashy income spikes. Small, disciplined actions repeated for decades outperform chaotic high earnings with bad spending habits. Now, here's what most people don't realize. Financial freedom is not about never working again. It's about reducing dependence. If your investments cover basic living expenses, your relationship with work changes. You can leave toxic environments, take calculated risks.
Negotiate better. Think long term. That's power. And this is exactly why asset building matters psychologically as much as financially. It reduces fear. Fear drives terrible financial decisions. People stay in horrible jobs because they have no financial buffer. People tolerate abuse because missing one paycheck creates disaster. Assets create options. Options create freedom. Now, let's talk about one mistake destroying modern wealth building: constant consumption through subscriptions and convenience spending. People underestimate recurring expenses massively. $10 here, $30 there. Streaming services, delivery fees, app subscriptions, financing payments, interest charges. Over years, these become enormous. A $200 monthly unnecessary spending habit invested instead at 10% annually for 30 years becomes over $400,000. That's the real cost. Tiny leaks sink financial ships slowly. Now, you might think this sounds extreme, but here's the truth. Most people dramatically underestimate future value. Humans naturally prioritize immediate gratification. Future rewards feel abstract. That's why financial discipline feels difficult. You're sacrificing visible pleasure now for invisible future benefits. But once investments start generating visible returns, behavior shifts psychologically. You begin seeing money differently. Instead of asking, "What can I buy?" you start asking, "What can this money produce?" That question changes everything. Money becomes workers, employees, tools, not just spending fuel. And wealthy people think exactly like that. Every dollar has a job: either consume now or generate future value. Now, let's discuss leverage carefully because this gets dangerous fast. Smart leverage can accelerate wealth. Bad leverage destroys lives. Debt used for appreciating or cash flowing assets can sometimes make sense. Debt used for consumption usually becomes toxic. Financing depreciating luxury purchases traps people financially. You're paying interest on things losing value. That's backwards wealth building. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Many people secretly believe someone will rescue them financially eventually. Government, family, inheritance, employer. But real security comes from ownership and preparation. No one cares about your financial future more than you do. That's reality. This is why financial education matters so much. Once you understand compounding, inflation, cash flow, and psychology, you start seeing the world differently. You realize advertisements exist to extract money from you. Consumer culture profits from financial impulsiveness. Entire industries depend on keeping people emotionally reactive buyers. Buy now. Upgrade now. Treat yourself now. Very few messages encourage delayed gratification and long-term asset ownership, because patient consumers are less profitable. Now, let's talk practical action. What should someone actually do starting today? First, calculate monthly expenses honestly. Most people underestimate spending badly. Track everything for 30 days. Second, build emergency reserves. Third, eliminate destructive debt aggressively. Fourth, automate investing immediately after payday. Fifth, increase income strategically through valuable skills.
Sixth, avoid lifestyle inflation whenever income rises. Seventh, focus on long-term consistency instead of quick wins. Simple, not easy, but effective. And here's the final thing I want you to understand. Money itself is not freedom. Cash flow is freedom. Assets are freedom. Time ownership is freedom. The ability to survive without panic is freedom. Most people spend their healthiest decades trading time for money without building systems that eventually replace that labor.
Then they wake up exhausted at 50, wondering why they still feel financially trapped. Don't let that happen. Use savings as a foundation, but don't stop there. Make money productive. Turn labor income into asset income. Turn income into ownership. Turn ownership into freedom. Because if your money only grows when you work, you'll work forever. But when assets begin producing income while you sleep, while you travel, while you spend time with family, while you rest, your entire relationship with life changes. And that's the difference between people who stay financially stressed forever and people who quietly build real wealth over time. The goal was never just to save money. The goal was always to build systems powerful enough so money eventually works harder than you do.